In the summer of 2016, so about a year and a half ago, I released a video called Overnight Bot Dump Flipping. And in this video, I talked about a theory people had where bots would just dump all their items overnight into the Grand Exchange. And it made a lot of sense because if you think about it, these bot farmers would pretty much set all their bots up for the day, whether they be Green Dragon bots or Raw Shark bots or Red Chinchompa bots. They do them all day. And then at the end of the day, they would collect all their profit from those bots and sell it all on the Grand Exchange and get their profit. If a bunch of the same item is dumped into the Grand Exchange at one time, then it's pretty obvious that those prices are going to go down for that item since there's so much more supply than there is demand for that item. Let's say Green Dragonhides are going for about 1500 GP each in the Grand Exchange. If all these bot farmers dump their Green Dragonhide in the GE at around the same time before they go to bed, then that item is going to go drop quite a bit in the Grand Exchange. So now the item is at around 1450 in price instead of the previous 1500 GP. Now the reason I did this overnight was because I didn't want to worry about the Grand Exchange buy limit. If you guys didn't know, which I'm sure many of you do, there is a 4-hour GE limit for a lot of the items. So you can only buy a certain amount of each item every 4 hours. Now for me, if I'm getting 8 hours of sleep at night, that means that I can buy twice as many of that item overnight than I would during the day. So I mean, technically I could buy a lot more during the day, but with the 4 hours, it takes a long time. It's very frustrating. If you go to sleep, it all goes by so quickly. Now there are obviously many flaws with this theory that were pointed out to me back in the day. One of the big ones is that it's obviously not going to be the same nighttime everywhere. If it's 1 p.m. in the West Coast in the afternoon, then it's going to be 9 p.m. in England. It's going to be 10 p.m. in places like Germany. It's going to be even like 11 p.m. in some of the Scandinavian regions. So when, nighttime hits some of the European countries, it's still in the afternoon in places like the United States and all of the Americas. Now, another problem was that if you leave an offer in the Grand Exchange for just slightly lower than the current buy price, then it's going to end up buying most of the time if that item is very commonly traded on the Grand Exchange. So instead of, it actually being bot dump flipping, it's just the market working like it should. Now, what I did in my overnight bot dump flipping videos was pretty much what I would do is I would find the buy price before I'd go to bed. So around, let's say 10 p.m. Eastern time before I hit the sack. Now, what I do is I find out the buy and sell prices of these really commonly botted items, things like Green Dragonhide, Dragon Bones, Raw Sharks, Red and Black Chinchompas, Wine of Zamorax. Now, if I see, let's say, Green Dragonhide being bought for 1500 GP by somebody and then they're selling it for 1720 GP, I would make my buy offer overnight to be something like 1680, 1685, even 1690 if I thought that it wouldn't go down that far overnight. Now, what you usually do with flipping is if you see somebody buying an item for 1600 GP and then selling it for 1650, you try to buy it for 1601 and then sell it for 1649, so you're getting all the buy and sell offers instead of the other guy. Now, what I'm doing instead is I'm actually putting my buy price a lot lower than the usual price in hopes of the bot dump actually working. So as I mentioned earlier, instead of me going 1701, I'm actually doing like 1685 or 1690. I'm going down by 10, 15, 20, sometimes even up to 30 to 50 GP per item if I think it's really going to go far. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this was uploaded about a year and a half ago during the summer when, usually the game is the most popular, so there's a lot more items coming to the market at the time. In that video, I had a lot of success with this method. I made like 3-4 million GP in 2 nights just doing this method. If you guys are interested in the first 2 videos, just go ahead and go to your YouTube search bar and just type in overnight bot dump flipping and you'll see the first 2 videos. So in the first video from bot dump flipping for 2 nights, I made 3 million GP, so pretty much 1.5 mil every single night just doing this. In the second video, it was closer to 1.5 mil in those 2 nights of 750k into an inch, which still wasn't too bad. Now in this video, it turned out a bit different. Now while I've been talking in this video, you guys pretty much seen my nightly progression so far, and you can see that from the first night, only pretty much 3 of my offers ended up going through overnight. The Dragon Bones, Oak Planks, White Berries, and Red Chinchompas didn't even buy overnight. The only things that bought were the Wine of Zamies, Green Dragonite, and most of the Raw Sharks that I put an offer in for. Now, what surprised me was that I wasn't even going that low on some of those items. I wasn't lowballing it by like 50 to 60 GP. It really wasn't that far. I was pretty much doing exactly what I did in the first 2 overnight bot dump flipping videos, the same prices for the most part. But only 3 of the 7 items ended up going through, so while I did still make 152,090 GP off of those 3 items, as you can see from my buy and sell prices, I still was a bit more annoyed at the 4 items not really buying at all, because that's a lot of money I could have made, but I guess I made my buy prices a bit too low. The second night was a bit better. 5 of the 6 items actually bought this time, and once again, the Oak Planks didn't buy, so I just figured at that point, I'm like, you know what, I'm done with the Oak Planks. The margin isn't even that big, so screw it. But at least this time I had 5 items to work with, right? So not many issues, lots of profit. Well, I still did make 355,306 GP, so pretty much double my profit of the previous night, it could have been a lot more because the wine of Zammies actually weren't selling. In some cases, instead of selling the item right away in the morning for a lot of profit, you actually have to wait a long time to sell the item until it goes back up in price. So for the wine of Zammies, for example, I bought them for 1700 GP each, but when I woke up, I saw that the buy price was like 1660 on the Zammies. So if I were to sell them for that much, I would lose quite a bit of money, pretty much all my profit I've made so far. So with the Zammy wines, I had to wait till the following evening to sell them instead of selling them in the morning right away, or else I would have taken a big loss. But as I said earlier, this time at least I made a bit more profit, 355,000 GP overnight, even though it wasn't even close to what I was making the previous two videos. The following night also wasn't too hot. I did finally sell those Zammy wines, but I didn't sell them for any profit or any loss. I sold them for straight up how much I bought them for, 1700 GP. Now this time I decided to focus on 4 main items: raw sharks, green d'hide, black chinchompas, and dragon bones, in hopes that they would make me a lot of money because I've had success with these items in the past. However, as I mentioned, I did still make profit off of them, but the buy and sell margins weren't that great, and I only made 144,033 GP overnight off of all these items. So if you guys total up all the profits from all 3 nights, it goes from 152k up to 350k down to 144k. So the third night was actually my worst night out of all 3 nights. So I still did, if you total up, make 651k. So no effort at all. It took me a total of 5 minutes to find buy and sell prices overnight for all these items, so it's still a free 651k. But if I look at previous videos from the overnight bot dump flipping and I look at what I could have made, it is a bit disappointing. Now, whether this is due to the market or whether due to the bot dump flipping, I'm not sure. These videos are always a bit controversial. I expect this to get dislikes. I expect people in the comments to be like, you have no idea what you're talking about. It's okay, I get that, but I still find the whole thing fascinating. And the overnight flipping, I guess, is a cool thing to check out for the future. So if you guys like this video, please make sure to drop a like and a comment on it. If you do think that bot dump flipping is real, if you guys were ever involved in the bot scene, if you guys know anything about bots selling items and when they do it and how they do it, I'd love to hear it in the comments below. Just don't tell Jagex. So that's it, guys. Thank you all for watching. Hope to see you next time. Have a good one, and peace.
Wow.